Hi, my name is Jay Wall, petitioner for the town and its village application. And first thing, I'll thank the review board for your time, your energy, the fortitude it takes to look through the mountains of information, but also thank you for giving us this opportunity to present. Today we're going to recap 4 years processing, which has all been in the making leading to today. My petition requested town status be changed to village status, and the question is, why did I get involved? What was the basis for my change in my petition? I've been a Brookfield resident since 1988. I've been actively involved in a variety of fronts with and for the community. My personal experiences with our community leaders and their near unique approach to planning for the future while maintaining a fiscally responsible government while respecting all the shareholders, including residential and commercial owners, is that respect is the norm, not the exception between parties. The Marcus Plan, we all saw it, we all know about it, it's the Corners. The Corners was on the horizon for the development of over $200 million, which would ultimately require public sector support in the form of a TIF. The Corner Plan was so energizing, it was so dynamic and such a catalyst for the region that the governor signed legislation, totally unique, giving the town of Brookfield the first ever town authority to enact a TIF, a $30 million TIF. Additionally, this TIF and the TIF district were then reviewed and granted by a unanimous vote by all applicable tax authorities. There are additional areas in this petition request and in our TIF district which will undoubtedly redevelop and contribute to the TIF repayments well beyond the Corners. The town, which has an equalized value of almost $1 billion, needs to protect this tax base to ensure timely, if not early, retirement of the $30 million in bonds which are going to be issued. The town needed the opportunity to work on the incredible redevelopment opportunities this development and the TIF district now would present. As a town, we have to go to other jurisdictions in the county to get approval on zoning. We felt the town needed to be proactive and timely in zoning, variances, and rezoning with our development partners to help them take advantage of the dynamic opportunities now available to them. And we wanted it to be timely assistance. Recognizing that we had to protect the existing community tax base, recognizing that we needed to have the zoning authority to fulfill the potential of this district, and recognizing the gravity and responsibility of bond repayment early, if possible, a change to village status was not only logical at the time, it was warranted. Today, all voices are going to be heard. It is part of due process. You'll hear recaps from the town. They're going to recap information submitted in detail prior, today, and at your request for your review. Others are also going to present. I simply ask for your consideration for the facts as presented. The initial legislation, unique, recognizing the opportunities for this community and recognizing the work that went in to get it to that point. The over $200 million in projects underway. The TIF district already been established and encompasses a much broader area than just the Corners. The $30 million in bonding responsibility that this community takes very, very seriously. And the need for this community to protect its tax base while working with developers in a timely basis to make this flow. All of this will come to fruition if we are granted village status. Village status which will recognize the dynamics of this unique, forward-looking community. That's my recap of why I petitioned for village status. With that, and with the list of speakers, Gary Becker from Beer Baker will now present the plan. Thank you for your time.
Computer up there. My name is Gary Becker. I'm a planner with Gary Becker Associates and was retained by the Town of Brookfield to assist in the preparation of the documents related to incorporation. And let's see here. That'll start it up. Did I do the right thing, Gary?
Yes.
Where's Gary?
It's one. It's one will not shut off by itself.
Shut off by
It goes on
itself.
to one.
Jane, now's a good time for a joke.
Oh my God. Oh, no,
He's right here.
Well, Gary, it should be started. And moving good.
Okay, warming up. Thank you. Well, just to recap, some of the reasons that Mr. Walt reviewed for the reasons for incorporation are more efficient land control. So as was mentioned, the town currently has to go to the county for rezoning and land use changes. That adds a lot of time and complication to the process that when you're in a redevelopment environment like Town of Brookfield is, it puts the town at a disadvantage to some of the surrounding communities. Incorporation will provide greater tax base stability so that the $1 billion in tax base that the town currently has is secure so that the debt obligations of the town could be met going into the future. We believe that the incorporation of the Town of Brookfield will result in improved regional cooperation by placing the town on the same footing as other municipalities within the county, within the region. The incorporation of the town will provide better access to the tools and to be able to better manage and finance the metropolitan development that's ongoing here, and pretty significant development. And finally, there's strong citizen support from the residents of the town for incorporation. This is the regional context for the town. You can see the proposed incorporation boundary here, and then this little piece up here, and then the surrounding municipalities. You know, it's a little difficult to see, but notice the density of the road networks throughout this area, and the density of roads within the incorporation area is similar as it is in the surrounding area here. And we've got an additional slide that gets at the density issues for the incorporated area. As far as cohesion and unity are concerned, the town of Brookfield is a very cohesive community. Residents identify with the town and with the community. There's a town newsletter. There's a strong history that's recognized by the residents and understood by the residents. There's a full spectrum of shopping and services, so with over 500 businesses within this incorporation area. And there are a number of community activities, a very active church community, and a very active and engaged recreation program for residents. As far as ordinances are concerned, the town has zoning and subdivision ordinances. They've declared village powers. Because of the zoning and subdivision ordinances that the town has had in place, you can see that the result of that is compact and homogeneous development within the town. And then, of course, the fact that the county must be involved in rezoning and land use changes, that does cause delay in obtaining approvals. And this chart shows just a comparison of the town's zoning ordinance with some of the surrounding communities. You can see that as far as the smallest permitted single-family residential lot in the town of Brookfield, it's 15,000. In the city of Brookfield, it's 20,000 square feet. The other communities are comparable or smaller than the town. As far as open space requirements for multifamily, it's 6,000 square feet in the town of Brookfield, 7,500 in the city, 6,500, 3,600. So it's the town has a good open space requirements, and open space and environmental protection is an important value for the town of Brookfield, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. As far as office district floor to area ratio maximums, 60-foot buildings are allowed in the town at a 0.3 floor area ratio. Similar floor area ratio in the city of Brookfield, but the maximum building height is only 35 feet. Are there planned unit development district? Are planned unit developments allowed in the town? Yes, and as they are for the city of Brookfield and Berlin, but the city of Pewaukee does not allow them. Design and architectural review, yes, just in the town of Brookfield, just like in the other surrounding communities. And then finally, does the town zoning ordinance allow mixed-use T&D districts? And the town of Brookfield does, the city of Brookfield does, but none of the surrounding communities do. So as far as from a zoning and subdivision perspective, the town of Brookfield is comparable and equal in every way with the surrounding municipalities. As far as land use trends are concerned, Brookfield is nearly completely urbanized, with the exception of some open space and wetland areas and recreation areas, and a few vacant lots here and there. The town has completely developed. It is a major shopping and employment hub. I mentioned earlier there are over 500 businesses within the Incorporation area, and they employ thousands of people. And this is an area that draws people from the region, and will continue as the Corners develops. It'll bring people from even a bigger area. Because it's been completely urbanized for quite a while, many of the commercial buildings are nearing the end of their useful life. And we've seen that with the Corners proposal, where some of the buildings that were there previously were at the end of their useful life. Those buildings have already been demolished, and the site is being prepared for the new development. And we see that continuing, that pressure will continue going into the future. Because of the growth of the metropolitan area, the only option is increasing density. So that's creating pressures for redevelopment. And the town needs incorporation to effectively address these trends. And we think that supports better metropolitan development in general. With this chart, you can see, well, there's the map shows the land uses. The kind of hatched area here, this is the area where the Corners is going in, is shown as mixed use. So there's a number of mixed use areas proposed along Blue Mound Road, as well as the commercial and retail shown in red. On the chart over here, you can see that almost 40% of the town has residential land uses. We're showing what these numbers are for the remnant town, and only 5.8% of the remnant town is residential. 28% of the town is tied up with the transportation network, and with the interchange out here at the I-94 and all the roads and arterials that are in the town, it's not surprising it's such a large number. Almost 22% of the incorporation area is in natural areas, primarily wetlands and environmental corridors. For the remnant town, it's almost 3/4 of the remnant town is in natural area. And then commercial at 5%, and then the other uses cluster amounts. As far as transportation is concerned, the town of Brookfield is served by Waukesha Metro Transit. They have 5 bus lines serving the town. The road network provides good connectivity. I-94 has over 118,000 vehicles per day, and the major arterials through the town have anywhere from 20 to 40,000 vehicles per day. So again, further confirmation of the fact that this is a regional shopping and employment hub that draws quite a few people into this area. The town also is developing a bike and pedestrian network. They have a master plan in place and have been implementing that master plan. Additional improvements to I-94 and mass transit will even increase further the capacity of the transportation system and provide even greater access to this area in the future. And there's a map showing the core of the incorporation area, particularly around the interchange at I-94, and then some of those traffic counts that were summarized on the previous slide. The land use plans for the region that cover the town of Brookfield all show the town of Brookfield being urban in character. The Southeast Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission Regional Land Use Plan for Southeast Wisconsin shows the area continuing to develop and with redevelopment and greater density. Waukesha County's land use plan also covers the town of Brookfield, and although the town of Brookfield doesn't have its own separate document, the land use projections and plans for the town of Brookfield are incorporated into the Waukesha County's land use plan, and they show similar urban character for this area. The town of Brookfield prepared a redevelopment plan for the Blue Mountain Corridor that, again, recommends increasing density and promotion of redevelopment for the corridor along Blue Mountain Road. The City of Brookfield's comprehensive plan, and that's here. Has a number of items that cover the town of Brookfield, and one of the items in the land use plan in Chapter 1 states that the City of Brookfield should work to establish a cooperative relationship with the town of Brookfield, particularly as related to the future of the Blue Mountain Road corridor and long-term boundaries. Map 1 in the City of Brookfield's plan, which is the future land use, shows the town boundaries being maintained as they currently are. And the plan seems to suggest the city does not anticipate annexations or consolidation, at least through the year 2035. And it's typically in a comprehensive plan when a municipality intends to annex land, that should show up in the future land use plan. And for the City of Brookfield, it does not. On intergovernmental cooperation, it says, in the short term, the city will encourage the town in enhancing development design standards in its portion of the Blue Mountain Road corridor and support the annexation of property in the detached and isolated northwest quadrant of the town. And that's the remnant town part that we'll see in here in just a minute. and in other areas if initiated and requested by area property owners. In the long term, the city supports consolidation between the two communities as a means to eliminate redundant services, better coordinate economic growth and help and rationalize and help market the Brookfield community. Unfortunately, the above statement does not represent a collaborative approach, as the town has no desire to be consolidated with the city. So those are some of the items in the City of Brookfield comprehensive plan. The City of Brookfield did commission a consolidation feasibility study to determine the feasibility of consolidating the city and town of Brookfield, and that study recommends that the consolidation was not feasible, and that the city should not and the town should not attempt consolidation. One of the driving issues there is the differential tax rates between the city and the town of Brookfield, and town residents would see a pretty substantial increase in their tax rates as a result. As far as utilities are concerned, the Town of Brookfield's sanitary sewer district number 4 provides both water and sewer service to the whole incorporated area. The town also has a stormwater utility district that provides stormwater management services. And you can see with this chart that the Town of Brookfield has, in the 2000 census, had 6,390. They serve 5,900 residents with municipal water service. That's 92.3%, higher than all but the city of Waukesha. It's higher than the city of Brookfield, Village of Elm Grove, Menominee Falls, New Berlin, and Pewaukee. This map shows the proposed boundaries for incorporation. We've got this residential subdivision up here, and then the core area here that includes the portion of the town of Waukesha down here in the southwest corner. This area encompasses 4.2 square miles. There are 6,255 people here. By 2030, this will be there will be about 1,600 more people in this area, and this encompasses almost 98% of the town's existing population. This map shows density in the Milwaukee metropolitan area, and the shaded area here are areas that have a population density greater than 1,200 persons per square mile. So you can see the town of Brookfield here and here is the same density, or has at least the same density or greater density than many of the areas surrounding it, and higher density than many other communities in the metropolitan area. Well, this would be a good time to take a break.
We have the two witnesses that we shared. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Doug Nice. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of the Marks Corporation, based in home base in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Many of you would probably know of us where we own and operate movie theaters, hotels and resorts, and our significant real estate ownership, a significant portion of that real estate ownership here in the state of Wisconsin. This year, 2015, is actually the year that we'll be celebrating our 80th anniversary as a company. And as I was thinking about my remarks for you today, I realized that we've actually been working with the town for not quite half of that. We've been working with the town for over 30 years now. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, during this time period, we have been the town's largest taxpayer. It all started actually back in the early 80s when we acquired the land, and now we're talking about the corners, we're going to talk northeast corners, the southeast corner of Blue Mound and Barker Roads. We acquired that land in order to put several of our businesses, so for those of you that have been around for a while will remember that we had a screen movie theater We built a Budgetel Inn, later became Little Quinta. If you remember the Mark's Big Boy days, with the Pompadour and the hamburger, you remember we had a Big Boy there and a KFC, and we had a strip center, and we did all of that. We developed all of that on that property working with the town. Approximately 9 years ago, we closed that movie theater and opened up what is our flagship movie theater, the Majestic of Brookfield, Mark's Majestic Cinema of Brookfield, in the town of Brookfield, on a site of a former cheese manufacturer, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was also done with an environmental TIF that was paid off early. And while I did just recently we joked at the groundbreaking ceremony that it seems like we were working on the corners since 80 years ago. In fact, we did get started on that probably a good 6 years ago now. After we had closed that theater, we started looking at what we could do with that particular piece of property. The fact is that we went through a very difficult process, a long process to do a $200 million plus project that you've probably heard a little bit about or will be hearing more about as well. A project of this magnitude would not be possible without the cooperation of everyone involved with the town. I personally have been involved in the project for about 4 years now, and have had numerous opportunities to meet with Rick Zopp and Jim Hammis and Keith Henderson and the entire town board, Gary Lake, and the list goes on and on. They've also supplemented their team when needed with excellent outside resources, includes Mike Harrigan from the firm Ellers to serve as their financial advisor. So a very professional team that we've worked with throughout this whole process. Throughout the entire process, they have demonstrated a willingness to work with us. They've been cooperative. They have been extremely professional. Don't get me wrong, the negotiations were difficult, and that's actually a feather in their cap as well. They knew what they wanted in order to protect the constituents that they were representing, and they worked hard to get to where they needed to be. They were flexible when they felt they could be, and they were very unyielding when they felt they hadn't. No one should underestimate the accomplishment that has occurred here. A project this size and scope of the corners is very hard to do. There are not many examples, in fact, in the entire state of Wisconsin as it relates to projects of this importance and of this size and magnitude. It was complicated, but we got it done, and the town of Brookfield deserves a ton of credit for that. The result ultimately is a project that's not only going to be great for the town of Brookfield, but frankly for the entire region, the entire southeastern Wisconsin area. This was a really big deal that got done in the town of Brookfield. As a result, I think it's something to be congratulated, and it certainly was my pleasure to be able to speak on their behalf today. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Chuck Sampe. I'm the owner's representative for Bradford Real Estate. We are the joint venture partner with Marcus. And about a year ago, we got involved with looking at this project, and I primarily came on board around October, and we started getting involved in this 8-building complex, which has about 1,700 parking for 1,700 cars, has about 750,000 square feet of retail, and we're looking today at 244 apartment units, which will all be put together as a mixed unit, small town, kind of town center. Sure, if we wanted to get us site plan, I wasn't sure which site you had. Okay, so we have a couple renderings here. This rendering is from Blue Mountain Road. This is looking south, and what you see here is, and what you see here is the first view that you will come across when you come into the project. There's a main entry lane that takes you down to the lower level parking, another one that takes you to the upper level town center, and then one that takes you around the grocery store that we have planned for that part of the project. The main anchor of this project is Von Maur. They're at the very south end. They also have a lot of exposure along 94. as you would exit onto Barker Road. This is a good shot to kind of give you an idea of, the curbs that were set up, and this is a deck that all sits on top of the 1,700 car parking garage. And in the center of the town, we have a little park. This park will create activities for, maybe music, that kind of thing. There'll be a event-oriented situation that will draw people to the center of it, as well as provide a little park for the people that live here and also shop here. And what we would be doing is up here, we would have residential, first floor, which is one-story retail throughout the whole project. This gives you a shot of the anchor store. This is the most current drawing we have. And what you see here, this line right here is the deck. So as you drive into this, to the parking garage, you'll actually arrive at this level and park on this spot. And then there's several ways to get upstairs through the retail and also some other elements like escalators and stairs. Here's another good shot of the Blue Mound Road elevation, starting over here. Right here is the entry to the parking garage, and there's another one over here, the parking unit, and then there's a little ramp that takes you up to the upper level. Right now, the land was like this and then came up slowly to Marcus Drive. We're cutting this all the way back to this point and going up, and that's how we provide all that parking that's going to be underground. These are the buildings I was talking about. Again, Blue Mountain Road is up here. This is the entries into the project. You can also come in on Marcus Drive along here. Von Mar is the anchor, and it sits along 94. Yeah. And there's a plans for a bridge that would go across Poplar Creek down at this point here. This kind of gives you a little better scale. Again, this is such a big project. We're looking at 10 acres of development on a 20-acre site. But this kind of gives you a little bit a vision of the demised retail spaces. Underground, this is what the parking would look like. Yeah, eventually we see that, that's all there is, okay. I'll back up to this site. When the project's all complete, there'll be permanent employment for 1,100 people. And on the way there, we're going to see that during the construction, we didn't employ about 800 people. Also, I believe there's a tax benefit of about $8 million a year for this entire project. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Can I ask a question about the underground parking?
Sure.
That you showed on the slide. That's the underground parking looks like it's below this entire development. Is that wrong way?
It's a long way.
It's a long way? Okay. Could you ask a question again? I was going to try to go to the parking.
As though, it seems as though the underground parking is below practically the entire development, right there.
That's correct.
So all those stores here are really above that parking garage.
That's correct, with the exception of a couple, like, for example, Von Mar at the lower end has a lower level, so people can park.
And walk right in?
Walk right in the store. And from that point, they can come up to the main level and walk around. We also have 8 points of vertical transportation where we can handle almost 20,000 people an hour walking up and down through this site.
Like escalators?
Well, it's almost like a stadium in a sense, with the number of stairs that we have, escalators and elevators.
If I could maybe answer your question too, the parking structure is owned by the Town of Brookfield Community Development. Okay, so, and the town just entered into a contract to have that built. We're floating $35 million in bonds. So the CDA will own the parking structure, and then the retail and residential are built on top of the parking structure. The parking structure itself will be a condominium unit. Most of it will be public, owned by the CDA, but there'll be a mezzanine area, separate condominium airspace, where the residential occupants will have private parking. So they pull in, they go up and they'll park there. And we call it parking structure, but it's not like you would pull into a parking ramp. It's 17 or 18 feet in height. Okay, so when you drive in, it's not like driving into a parking ramp. It's into a big parking structure. It's to be set up where, as you drive in, if you look down, you still get LED lights on.
Yes, yeah.
You drive down and you look down an aisle, there'll be LED lights along the top. If you see a green light, you know there's an open parking space in that aisle. Red, they're all full. Okay, and then, so that's the way it's to be set up. So the first thing, and I think another week or so, they would start pointing footings. So they tend to be completed in November of 2016. The parking structure has to be completed first for the rest of the building.
It's almost like a big port to share. You're not just going into a garage and parking your car and walking away. As you pull in, you're gonna be able to see this, a lot of light around the escalator and elevators to the left-hand side. And these other stores that you see along the top, they also have a ground floor appearance too. So, for example, if you live here in the upper left-hand corner, Semdix, you'd be able to pull in, get some food, and drive up to the mezzanine level to park your car and take an elevator that only goes to the apartments and go from there. So that center area that you drive through, and Gary showed me a drive that goes to Von Mar. Yeah. That drive there is going to be like, a typical parking garage is about 5 foot candles. We're going to be more like 15. It's going to be a bright aisle. You kind of come down this whole thing as you drive through. That area is about a little more than 17, 18 feet high, but it's also about 200 feet wide. So you've got this big mezzanine area, of course, with columns to support everything. And then we have mezzanine parking behind that. So it all centers down that center aisle.
What's the residential population of the building?
It's 244 units. It's about 10% studio, 30% one bedroom, 10% one bedroom den for single parents, that kind of thing, and then 40% two bedroom.
So what would you estimate the population to be?
Oh, total number of people? Well, let's see. Probably about 6, let's see, 3. I would say between 450 and 600 people.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Just a reminder, as Gary's going to proceed with the presentation, we'll have the petitioners proceed for about the next 25 minutes. For those who have come in the room, if you wish to speak, please fill out a slip just outside the doors. And if you have slips in hand and you wish to speak, if you could just please bring those forward and hand them to Renee. We'll see that you're called forward.
All right, so the next slide talks about land suitable for development. And as we mentioned previously, nearly all suitable land has already been developed in the town. Currently, there are 25 acres in the town of Waukesha portion of the Incorporation area. That's the largest undeveloped parcel in the proposed Incorporation area. And as discussed earlier, the cycle of development and new development and redevelopment is occurring, and its increasing density is already underway, and as evidenced by the corners proposal there. As far as tax revenue is concerned, the town is already providing services to its residents. The town does not anticipate a significant change in tax rate or operating budget. And you can see the comparison of the town of Brookfield with mill rates, surrounding communities, and what the local share of that mill rate is. And the town compares very favorably with surrounding communities. Estimate of equalized value, this is the number from 2010. Values have dropped slightly as they have all over the state, but it's still right around $1 billion in equalized value. And you can see the total equalized values here for the city of Brookfield, which is the blue line, and the town of Brookfield, which is this line. So very, very close in equalized value, and actually the town of Brookfield has more equalized value than many of the municipalities within the area. Whoops. As far as special purpose districts go, there are two. There's a sanitary district number 4. That will likely be dissolved upon incorporation and then reformed as a municipal utility. There's also stormwater utility district number 1, and that may require a boundary change to bring in the town of Waukesha portion of the incorporation, if that's feasible. There are a number of intergovernmental agreements in place between the town and surrounding communities. There's a countywide mutual aid agreement that the town participates in that provides emergency response aid. The city of Waukesha and the town of Brookfield have a rescue service training agreement. The city of Waukesha and the town of Brookfield have a transit service agreement. And there are several emergency water service agreements, one with the city of Brookfield and one with the city of Milwaukee. There are several agreements in place that relate to sanitary sewer interceptor construction and operation between the town and the city of Brookfield, city of New Berlin, and the city of Milwaukee. The town has a radio system contract with Waukesha County. There is a resolution by the town board expressing willingness to enter into boundary agreements with the city of Brookfield. That was, and there's water and sewer, sanitary service or sewer agreements between the city of Brookfield and sanitary district number 4 in 2011.
Gary,
Yeah.
how old is that resolution? Boundary. Willing the standard boundary.
Yeah, that was done in, was it 2012 or 13? Do you know, Rick?
So relatively recent.
Yeah, it's part of the incorporation process. There are other ones, but the one he's referring to was done after the incorporation petition was filed.
I think it was 2012.
And I think that's included in the materials.
There are a number of capital facility needs that have been identified by the town, and this is in their 5-year capital improvement plan, including continued improvements and upgrades for the Parks and Recreation Department, new equipment for the Fire Department, the Department of Public Works, the Police Department, Building and Zoning. The town has been very good at managing its debt. It's currently less than 4% of its statutory debt limit. This map shows the remnant town up here. The yellow parcels are parcels that were recently annexed to the city of Brookfield. So those, when the initial petition was submitted, these parcels were part of the remnant town. Now they are in the city of Brookfield. We believe that there will be no impact on fiscal conditions or services for the remnant town. The new village will continue to provide all the existing services to the remnant town under contract if they so desire. And the new village will not need the revenue from the remnant town should they decide not to secure services from the new village. The remnant town is about $28 million in equalized value. That's about $100,000 in annual tax revenue. Compare that to the nearly $1 billion in assessed value for the incorporation area. There are 138 people that live in the remnant town. Only about 3% of the town of Waukesha is in the incorporation area. The population, area, and value, therefore, is there's little expected impact on the remaining 97% of the town of Waukesha. The new village is willing to compensate the town of Waukesha for any losses in tax revenue as a result of bringing this area in. There are limited options for the remaining town, or I should say there are a number of options for the remaining town. The remnant portions of the town in the northwest could choose to become part of either the town of Lisbon, the city of Pewaukee, the village of Menominee Falls, or the city of Brookfield. So quite a few choices there for those properties. The remnant portions of the town to the south could choose to become part of the city of Brookfield or city of Berlin. And I'm just going to go back to this slide. There are just a few small parcels down here that are in the south area, and one here that are also part of the remnant town. And that's what this slide is talking about. The remnant portions of the town to the south could choose to become part of the city of Brookfield or the city of New Berlin. Or this area could remain as a town receiving services from the new village under contract. As far as policy, regulatory, and service issues are concerned, the town and the city of Brookfield currently cooperate on critical issues, but the relationship is admittedly contentious. Relationships with nearby municipalities is expected to improve once the town is on an equal footing, which incorporation would provide. The town is already providing a full set of utility, public safety, and environmental protection services, which is having a positive impact on the metropolitan community. Failure to incorporate could jeopardize the town's ability to continue providing such services in the face of piecemeal annexations, and we believe that situation would have an overall negative impact on the metropolitan community. The consolidation option is not feasible and would leave town residents worse off, and it's not feasible based on the city of Brookfield's own study. As far as consistency with county and adjacent municipalities, we believe the incorporation of the town of Brookfield would have no impact on the county or adjacent municipalities. The ongoing contentious boundary issues distracts both the town and the city from focusing on service efficiency. And town officials will continue to participate and cooperate with the county and other municipalities on regional regulatory policy and service issues. Now, since a lot of this material was put together back in 2012, and since 2012 there have been several new developments, many of which have already been mentioned, but just to summarize those recent updates that we believe further supports the case for the incorporation of the town of Brookfield. Those two parcels I showed on the previous map that were recently annexed to the city of Brookfield, as was discussed by the representatives from Marcus Corporation, the town created a CDA back in 2012 because of the pressures for redevelopment. And as you may know, community development authorities have as their primary purpose the managing of redevelopment within municipalities. The town has secured authorization from the state of Wisconsin and completed the establishment of tax increment district number 1, and we'll show a map here in just a moment. The CDA and the town board were able to negotiate this very complex development agreement with the Marcus Corporation and Brookfield Corners LLC for financing of that parking structure that you just the town board conducted a study to understand the impact that multifamily housing was having on the town. As in many other communities, there have been quite a few proposals for multifamily housing projects, and the town wanted to understand what impact that would have on the town. And then they commissioned a development feasibility study for the area across Blue Mountain Road in the Corners project. They wanted to understand what the redevelopment opportunities were for that area across the street. So we believe all those items further support the idea that the town of Brookfield really is an urban municipality already, and needs the corporation, needs to be formally recognized as a municipality. This shows the boundaries for the TIF district, and let's see, in the yellow here, and this is the Corners project here. This is Poplar Creek here. The development agreement that was negotiated by the CDA has calls for the Marcus Corporation to construct a bridge across here, across Poplar Creek, to access this area here. Now this area is another part of the town where the buildings are at the end of their useful life. They're really showing their age and trying to be redeveloped. Oh yeah, so let's see here. So traffic here, to provide better traffic circulation from the Corners project, this bridge will help bring traffic through this area to Janicek Road and then out to Blue Mountain. So it does help with the, not only improve circulation for the Corners project, but it opens this area up for redevelopment. And just to give you an indication of what it looks like down in that area, here's some of the photos, some of those buildings. So that concludes my remarks.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I have two quick questions here. First, you said that the City of Brookfield Comprehensive Plan is largely in support of maintaining Town of Brookfield boundaries with the exception of that north area. There seems to be the status quo here. And when was that comprehensive plan developed? And was the town of Brookfield a party to that?
I don't believe the town is a party to the city's comprehensive plan, and the date escapes me, but it's, yeah, I can get that to you here in just a
Okay.
second.
The second question I had was that town of Waukesha piece south, why was that included as part of the petition? And how does it relate to the other parts of the proposed road?
Well, there are two reasons it was included. One is the town needed to meet the minimum area requirements for incorporation, and so that it made sense, primarily because that part of the town of Waukesha does not receive very many services from the town itself, and it's kind of an ignored area down there.
Real funny man. Boy, you are more
Wow,
where are you coming from? Right.
Well, that worked brought up there.
And so the town believes it could provide better services to that area than what is currently provided by the town.
Further questions from board members?
At the beginning, with respect to the TIF, if the status has changed to village, what is the effect on that TIF district? And is there an effect on the town remnant with respect to the TIF district if village status is obtained?
There should not be an impact on the TIF district from incorporation. The state granted the Town of Brookfield full municipal TIF powers as far as that TIF district is concerned. So it's set up as if it was a municipality, an incorporated municipality. As far as the impact on the remnant town, I think the impact would be minimal. There's only $28 million in property value in that area. And,
Would they be responsible for any of the debt?
no. There would be an allocation of debt between the town, the incorporated area, and the remnant town.
In 1999 and 2001, petitions were dismissed because of the widely separated areas. What's been done to rectify those reasons from those two petitions till today? Because they were denied because of widely separated areas.
Well, we believe that, I mean, there's only one separated area in this petition, and that's the subdivision just to the north of the core area. And the town believes that to be an important part of the core of the town, and that area needs to be part of the incorporation. Jim, did you want to?
Well, the 99 petition included that, what we refer to as the capital drive area, the remnant portion, which is widely separated from the rest of the town. So, when this petition was put together, they used the core area, and then the 288 acres, which is an island, it was included in the petition to meet the minimum force code knowledge. So that, going back to that was the widely separated area, the capital drive.
Any other questions?
We can, about 5 minutes or so, I don't know if this is a good point for you.
Yeah, we'll just, we've got the 80 under, I think this will be long, so. Of course, you have to speak fast for a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to share some information with you. A lot of this has been included in the prior presentation, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, just take a few minutes. Again, my name is Wendy Unger. I'm a partner with Baker Tilly and the external auditors for the current Town of Brookfield. I just want to share some information that supports their financial stability and strength as of the end of the past calendar year. First item I'd like to share with you is that the town's governmental funds, their day-to-day funds, had a very strong financial position as of the end of 2014. $2.3 million of fund balance in total. $1.7 million of that was within the general fund, their operating fund. Of that $1.7 million, $350,000 was funds that were set aside for the outright purchase of a fire truck during 2015, monies that they earmarked for that purpose. The remaining balance, $1.3 million, represents roughly 27% of the town's operating budget. Monies they have available for working capital needs, contingencies. The town does currently have a policy in place that requires a minimum of 15% to be earmarked. Again, have 27% set aside, so again, a very strong position within their governmental funds. Also, as noted earlier, the town currently has very little general obligation debt. Within, again, those same governmental funds, $130,000 of debt existed as of the end of the year, a very small portion of what their borrowing capacity is. They do have some additional general obligation debt that exists within their utilities, as noted earlier. Their water utility does have $200,000 of debt outstanding that would offset against that debt limit. Again, they have 99.3% of their borrowing capacity, which equates to roughly $48.6 million available as of the end of 2014 for future borrowing needs. Another item to note, as noted, they have a very stable tax rate. Their mill rate has remained relatively stable over the past several years with a declining assessed value. That mill rate has remained from the range of 3.56 in 2011 to roughly 3.8 in 2014, with some of the years remaining completely unchanged. As noted in the previous presentations, the town does currently have a water and sewer utility along with the stormwater utility. We also have a utility that has been set up to handle the refuse process. All of those funds currently are self-supporting with very little capital or major maintenance type needs coming up on the near horizon. Lastly, as noted as part of the presentation, as part of this incorporation process, there is a portion of the existing town that would not be included. That portion represents roughly $71,000 of the current 2015 tax revenue, less than 2% of what the town would be collecting if the incorporation did not move forward. This is a very minor decrease to the town, who has a very solid financial position. And it is believed that even with that $71,000 decrease, the amounts of services, the types of services would still continue to be provided to that area, which you'll hear in a moment from the department heads. I've shared, again, some very high-level financial information. I thank you for the opportunity. Very excited to be here supporting the town's current situation, and thank you for your time.
Any questions from board members?
Briefly describe how the corners project would affect those numbers or could affect?
I haven't really been part of that discussion, and besides the debt.
I guess we'll have other speakers address that, but in summary, it wouldn't, because there is, under the development agreement, there's an annual payment to the town beginning next year, $50,000 to cover administrative expenses associated with the cost. And then there's $300,000 available to town consultants between now and the time the project is completed. And then after that, there's tip revenues that would take care of that. And the way the development is set up, the town retains 3/4 of the tip revenues generated on areas outside of the Corners project. So they have all that money coming in, which can be used for other projects, tip-related projects, if not ultimately for that. So.
Town remnant, what percent of the existing general obligation debt will be their responsibility?
The current general obligation debt exists for the purchase of an ambulance and the trunk radio agreements. I'm not sure what the exact percentage is that would be allocated to that remnant portion. Again, that total being $130,000 in total. I'm not sure that I know the.
It was based on assessed valuation of $28 million of assessed value of the property, with roughly $1 billion in town, so it's percentage-wise. It was allocated based on percentage.
Well, if everything goes through and you've got the town rent, what I'm getting asked, how much of that debt is the responsibility of the remnant?
Well, it was, the town, there's a resolution that was adopted by the town board in the packet that said that we will continue to provide the same level of services, which includes debt payments as is currently provided for the same tax revenues. So they have the option of contracting with the village to provide municipal services and payment of debt. All they do is turn over the tax revenue to the town. That's the way it's proposed to be handled. If they don't contract with another municipality.
Any further questions from board members?
That resolution is in the presence.
Andy, if you could just spell your name too, please.
Sure. My name is Andrew Smers, S-M-E-R-Z. Good afternoon. I am the full-time fire chief in the town of Brookfield. I've been with the town for going on 9 years now. I came to the town after 30 years of service with the Milwaukee Fire Department, 8 of those years as in the chief officer rank. Today also with me is Tony D'Amico. He is our full-time assistant fire chief. Tony has over 20 years of experience with the Town of Brookfield Fire Department, having served in all ranks. The Town of Brookfield Fire Department provides full-time services in the areas of fire suppression, emergency rescue, emergency medical services at the advanced life support paramedic level, fire inspection, and public safety education. The Town of Brookfield Fire Department has 45 personnel operating out of a single fire station. These personnel ensure that the department is staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We do not depend on or utilize volunteers or paid on-call personnel. Our response fleet includes 2 fire engines, 2 ALS paramedic ambulances, 1 aerial platform, 2 incident command vehicles, plus additional ancillary equipment. We currently do have a new aerial ladder on order, which we believe will have delivery in December of this year. Our daily staffing consists of 6 personnel. The engine is staffed with 3 personnel. That's a company officer, a heavy equipment operator, driver, and a firefighter. Our paramedic ambulance is staffed with 2 firefighter paramedics, and we have 1 command officer on duty. Once again, this is our minimum staffing, 24 hours per day, every day. We average approximately 1,100 responses per year. About 65% of those responses involve the emergency medical nature. In addition, we conduct approximately 1,800 fire inspections a year. We inspect every commercial property and every multifamily complex twice per year. The Town of Brookfield Fire Department participates in the Wisconsin MAVIS system. That's a mutual aid box alarm system. This, if you're not familiar with this is a cooperative arrangement between surrounding municipalities and their fire departments. And it's an agreement to respond in aid to any municipality as our resources are needed. The Town of Brookfield Fire Department responds with apparatus, personnel, and equipment to all of our surrounding communities, as well as communities in Milwaukee County. Likewise, these departments will respond to our community if we need additional resources. MAVIS is a unique operating format. When help is needed, the additional departments respond. No questions asked, no money changes hands, and there's no politics involved. The Waukesha County Fire Chiefs all have a very close working relationship. Over the past 5 years, the Town of Brookfield Fire Department has provided more mutual aid to other communities than we ourselves have requested. We're proud of that. The Insurance Services Office, ISO, rates fire departments across the country. The ISO evaluates and rates a community's fire protection based on their fire department resources, the community's water supply network, their emergency communication system, and their water capacity to protect the community structures. Departments are rated on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the best. The Town of Brookfield Fire Department has a current rating of 4. This rating puts the Town of Brookfield Fire Department in the top 15% of the 48,324 departments rated nationwide. Only 4 departments out of 27 in Waukesha County have a rating of 4. When talking about emergency services, one of the data points we pay very close attention to is response time. In many instances, the time from receipt of call to on scene is critical. The Town of Brookfield's average response time to incidents in our community is under 4 minutes. This exceeds the recommended standard set by the National Fire Protection Association. And I do have a map here. I know it's a little bit difficult. To see, but I wanted to map out just some response times within the community, just to give you a rough idea. and it's kind of in the different quadrants of different quadrants of the town. Our station is here, which is somewhat centrally located within the town. We're blessed with excellent streets and avenues that we can use in our response patterns. If you go to the eastern edge over here, our response times are about, and this was based on actual responses to those areas, 4 minutes and 52 seconds. If you go down here to more the southern, mid-southern area, 4 minutes and 40 seconds. To the southwest edge over here, you're looking at 5 minutes and 17 seconds. If you do look at this area, the town of Waukesha, and we have responded into that area on mutual aid. We're in about the 5 minute, 30 second time frame for response. When you get up into the northwest end here, you're at 4 minutes and 2 seconds. When we look at this area here, the Gaywood area, our response time in there is about 6 minutes and 30 seconds. So we're proud of our response time. Once again, those are average times from when we receive the call and we get on scene. The city of Brookfield's station would be over here off of Calhoun and Civic Drive, I believe it is. And then lastly, as the fire chief, it's important to look at the future of the community and how any changes in the community will impact the services that we provide. Obviously, one of the biggest changes that will affect this community within the next year will be the completion of the Corners project. Once again, unlike many communities that rely on fire departments that are staffed with a combination of full-time, part-time, paid-on-call, and volunteers, the Town of Brookfield Fire Department, with its full-time staff, is already prepared to take on the future growth associated with that project. Thank you.
Are there any questions from board members or staff? And Chief, if you could just state your name, spell it for the record, please.
Chris Perpet, P-E-R-P-E-T. I served in the Town of Brookfield in 1986. I really got my bachelor's degree. I'm sorry. Okay, I served in the Town of Brookfield in 1986. A year later, I earned my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. In 1990, I was promoted to captain. In July of 2004, I was appointed police chief. And I was, in 1986, I remember Mark Stoodboy. And it's like, the police department consists of 15 full-time officers, including myself, 1 part-time officer, and an administrative assistant. The department strives to have 3 officers on duties with a minimum staffing of 2 officers per shift. There's an organizational chart. The department provides several services to the community. They include fingerprinting, child safety, seat and inspection programs, court-ordered breath testing, drug take-back programs, vacation house checks, and neighborhood watch programs. We all offer these programs at no cost. There will be an increase in the number of calls for the department due to the consolidation, but I strongly believe we'll be able to serve that area with minimum impact to our department. Because the police department is a full-time, 24 hours, 7 days a week, we would be able to respond to calls in a timely manner. Even if the officer was responding from the police department, the normal response time from our parking lot to Highway 164 is between 5 and 8 minutes. I'm a little short and I'm completed. Any questions?
No, thank you for your comments, Chief. Tony, you can spell your name.
Tony Scott, SKOF. I'm superintendent of the sanitary district number 4, Town of Brookfield. We supply sewer and water service to Town of Brookfield, and we do supply services to properties in the city of Waukesha, city of Brookfield, the city of Milwaukee, and the city of Berlin. Our water system consists of 6 wells, 3 iron filtration plants, 2 water reservoirs, and 2 water towers, which one was built and paid for 2 years ago. It gives us a total water storage capacity of almost 1 million gallons. We also have water interconnection with the city of Brookfield and city of Milwaukee, which emergency supply entities supply us if needed. Our water meets all the DNR and EPA regulations. We don't have a rating issue with us or with our water. I'm sorry. That's slow down. We don't have any rating issues with their water that some of our surrounding communities do, and yet we have some of the lowest water rates in the area, in the state. We work with developers early in the planning stages to meet their needs, make sure everything is planned out. With Corner of Brookfield, we've been working with them since day one to make sure we have infrastructure in place for their needs and for the fire department's needs. Town of Brookfield's got intermunicipal agreements with the city of Brookfield, in which we provide them sewer service for their developments, and they, in return, they will provide us with water service in the future if needed in the gateway to states area. Our infrastructure was designed for future expansion possibilities. We do have water mains and sewer mains up to the town of Waukesha borders. If needed, we can expand into that area in the future. We have 2 wells and iron filtration plant and 215,000 gallon reservoir right in this area, so we'll be able to serve that area no problem if needed. And that's short. Hope that there's a sewer map, same thing, that sewer mains and a lift station right up to the border of Waukesha already.
Questions of board members or?
I am Doug Gollner, Gollner, I'm the superintendent of the public works / stormwater. We currently have a 7 full-time crew, 2 part-time personnel. We are a fully equipped department with an outstanding fleet. We do just about everything and anything. And as you can see, I see no problem as far as providing services for any additional areas or the areas that we are in now.
Any questions? Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Chad Brown. I'm with the Town of Brookfield Partner Rec Department, BROW. We often hear that Parks and Rec is the quality versus quantity cliche, but we really push the community net feel of what the Park and Rec does. So you'll hear me reference that a couple times. The Town of Brookfield has 47 acres of parkland, we have 3 parks. 17 acres of that is additionally green space and conservancy. So within those parameters, all town residents live within a 1.5 miles of a town park. The big thing that we do are special events throughout the year. Two real big ones that we do are the 4th of July Picnic and Parade and Easter egg hunt. Very volunteer driven. We get staggering numbers of people, both residents and non-residents, to come to our various special events. We have opportunities existing for all of our residents, seniors, special needs. We also have recreational programming, not only in the parks, but with co-op programs with various businesses, as well as stuff here at Town Hall. We've also worked closely with volunteer groups doing things that are removing garlic busters and just involving them in the... Sorry. Working with community groups in order to get, again, that community feel and buy-in to our that community and that feeling. Just putting it out some of the various management plans that we have and forward planning thinking that we do have. The Bikeway Master Plan, as well as the Urban Forestry Management Plan, are included in our comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. So we do have things that we want to do in the future, looking back to our past and seeing that the good things that we do. So in that conclusion for what the Park and Rec does, and the plan is definitely intended, we're the root of the community, building that close-knit feeling and trying to have all our residents feel, again, close-knit to one each other. So thank you for your time and good luck with your considerations.
I'm coming back as kind of just a brief overview, and then we're done with the Town of Brookfield initial presentation. A note of, my name is Jay Waltz, WALT. A note of perspective, especially when viewing public services and availability of the same. It's really important to just look back just a few years ago as you view the public services that we offer, whether it's police, fire, Department of Public Works, you name it, administrative. This used to be, this site, the Corners, was a very busy 8-screen movie theater. We had a strip mall, and we had a Menards. We handled traffic, we handled issues that go along with every one of those retail businesses, and we did it with the same staff that we're looking at for here today. I say that because if you look at traffic, if you look at break-ins in vehicles, you name it, whatever it is, the Town of Brookfield is well equipped to handle it. We've got experience, we've done it before. So with that, I thank you for your time and attention from the Town of Brookfield. And if there's any questions for me, otherwise the Town of Brookfield presentation is complete.
Any questions at this time? Okay, thank you. Sorry, go ahead, Rich.
Well, I'm not quite sure who to address this to, but you're as good as anybody. The town chair would be good too. And the question basically is that in my experience with local government and the positions that I've held in local government, there was a time, and I live in a very confusing area too. It's rural Dane County, or it's on the very edge of Madison, and behold, at one point, a state legislator proposed that the town of Madison become incorporated by statute into my city, which is the city of Fitchburg. And that there was a certain amount of controversy that arose, especially from the city of Madison, because the city of Madison wanted part of the town of Madison. And I don't know that we wanted any of it, but what eventually happened was that and I proposed that the incorporation occur through a statute called Incorporation by Cooperative Agreement. And it's a 66 point whatever it is thing, and Eric knows the number of how that occurs. But eventually, and I cast the deciding vote on the city plan commission for incorporation by cooperative agreement, which the city of Madison and the city of Fitchburg, and I can't remember who all was involved, all agreed to after a much gnashing of teeth and a great deal of a very difficult process. Why can't that happen with the city, with the proposed village of Brookfield, the city of Brookfield, the city of New Berlin, and the city of Pewaukee, and all the other, you've got a wealth of experience, and you should be able to reach an agreement. Why haven't you?
I'm going to defer to our attorney, town attorney Jim Hamm.
Let me, if I can, let me address that, because this comes up with a lot of the comments that were made earlier. Well, first of all, there's no secret, very candid, the reason that the land for the town of Waukesha, which is an island in the town, was included is because we needed to meet the 4 square mile limitation, right? Now, having said that, you can't, it's the old saying that, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink, right? I mean, both before the petition for incorporation was filed, we tried to work out agreements with the city of Brookfield. They refused. If they refused, you talk about these islands, the Capitol Drive corridor, or these little small islands, we've offered to give that to the city, turn it over to them. They won't take it. Why? Because they believe that as long as those islands are out there, it's a barrier to incorporation. They simply refuse to do it. We tried to talk to the city of Town of Waukesha. We offered a 20-year payment of taxes for a border agreement. They refused. Well, that's their right to refuse. But it isn't as if we didn't make efforts. During I think Eric mentioned that there were several delays. One of the delays was because we engaged in the mediation process, but it got nowhere because nobody wants to agree. And everybody believes that as long as they refuse to cooperate, they believe there's no way you're going to approve this. And that's why they refuse to cooperate. So we'd be happy to work out an agreement with any of the surrounding municipalities, but they refuse to do it. And, some of the stone cast in East for about the same legal counsel in Highway 59, they've got the same legal counsel throughout. And so they all have the same interests. So we'd be happy to work out border agreements with all of these surrounding municipalities, but we've offered before, during, and we offer again now, but they refuse. So what are we going to do? That's what we're going to do.
Gary brought up a consolidated study. I believe he said it was commissioned by the city.
Was about 2006.
Timing on that, was that before or after the state and statutes gave incentives for consolidation, especially differential tax rates and that type of stuff?
The study was 2006. The study was done by R.A. Smith.
Was that before the statute change or after? That's where my question was.
Can't tell you, but as you heard Mayor Pondo say, he doesn't think more governments are the answer, so it isn't going to happen. But the point is that it was a consolidation study commissioned by the city. They came over to us. We provided all the information they asked for. R.A. Smith came back, and I know that study's in the material submitted, and said that consolidation is not feasible.
My question comes down, if it was before the state changed the statute, it may not have been feasible, and did the statute change feasibility at all? Therein lies the question.
I can't tell you, I don't know what date but we can get that, we can determine that easily because the study was submitted and we'll look at the date the statute was submitted. Again, it's very frustrating from the town side of it too, the town of Brookfield petition. You can, who else could offer 20 years tax revenue for loss of territory if if the incorporation is approved, they say, well, we're not interested in even talking to you, we just want to fight. The offer has been and remains on the table, but they're not interested.
Okay, what we're gonna do now is take a short break, reconvene at 2:15. At that time, we'll hear from interested parties, starting with, 3:15. We'll start with City of Brookfield, followed by the Village of Sussex. So we'll be back here at 3:15.